This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 182, recorded on August 28th, 2014. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all your favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation. And today is going to be a lot of conversation, all for the Average Tech Guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in Bellevue, Nebraska. And, of course, we post the show with world-class show notes each week out at the AverageGuy.tv. If you have questions, comments, or contributions, you can contact me via email. Just send it to jim@theaverageguy.tv. You can find me on Twitter, and we had a little discussion in the pre-show about Twitter, @jcollison. Only follow that if you really... I probably tweet 6 or 7 times a day out of that automatically. There's some RSS feeds that I follow. Interesting to me. I always thought maybe interesting to you. They've all been guests on the show in the last 6 months, so I've added them in there. And then because I'm doing that, the conversation's picked up. So if you don't like that, just unfollow. It's okay. I won't be offended, but @jcollison, lots more Twitter activity. And now you can call on those questions. If you want to do it, crank call me too if you'd like. I'd enjoy a good crank call. We'd play it on the show. 402-478-8450, and we'll play that question right here into the show. And now Home Gadget Geeks is a part of the Geeks Network. Find the links to this show and many other great podcasts out at the Geeks Network, the newly fixed geeksnetwork.com. Join us in chat. Watch or listen live on YouTube and on Spreaker, and find all the navigation you'll ever need. Find anything you'll ever need over at the AverageGuy.tv. All right, well, we're kind of back to a community show tonight. That's kind of how I separate them. There's kind of interview, and then there's kind of community. And I did get some feedback from you guys just through the new newsletter that we're putting out, and so I appreciate it. If you want to subscribe to that newsletter, go out to the AverageGuy.tv, and there's a little subscribe box. Again, you don't have to do that. Not good or bad, but if you want to get an email from me once a month catching up with everything that's going on in the community, subscribe there, and then I'll send you a thank you note. And many of the guys have given me some feedback back. And one of the guys said to me, I like the community podcasts. And it's funny, every time I change formats a little bit, because this show has changed formats. Mike, you've been around nearly since the beginning. Yep. And we changed formats, and I appreciate that. So Mike's back. Actually, the next couple of weeks, we're kind of back to this more community format where it's just guys coming in and we're talking tech. Speaking of guys, Mike Howard from JPEG to Raw. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing great. And Jim, I like kind of both. I like the community shows, when you have some great guys come on and talk about what's, their various things. I like those, but I also like the ones where you've had some great guests. You've gotten presidents and CEOs of some up-and-coming companies, LastPass and some other things like that too. I love those shows too, to hear, what's going on there.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie.
I like
I've gotten some really good feedback on those interview shows, and I don't want to just do those. Those come as they come. This summer at Gallup, it was the summer of Twitter, and I contacted a lot of companies for work that are Twitter, tools or automation tools, and I wanted to try some of those out, and that's why, unfortunately, some of you have been the recipient of a updated Twitter account where I'm sending more tweets out that way, and again, you're free to ignore them or unfollow me if you want, but I was trying some of those things out, and in the context of that, I just asked those guys if they'd be on the show. So we had Zapier, which has not yet, actually that's in the queue. That was last week, and I'm a week ahead at this point. So Mike, this show won't post for another weekend, not this weekend, but next, because I'm going to be off some weekends in September, and so I thought I'd get a little bit ahead. So Zapier we had last week. That'll actually show up in the queue this weekend. We've had Social Bro. We've had MediaFire. So just go back if you're interested in that stuff. John Nye was on with Christian last week.
The science guy?
John Nye, the science guy. John Nye, the hacker guy.
There you go.
John Nye, the hacker guy.
And no
so
singing.
Yeah, sorry. I've never sung on this podcast. That's the first right there.
Well, there you go. That's why.
That's probably a good thing. But anyways, lots of good stuff going on here in the network, and so we appreciate you guys and you listening. And I like your feedback. You can never please everybody all the time. If you're thin-skinned, never go into podcasting because you're going to get people's opinion whether you like it or not. And that's okay. Let me know. Sometimes I can fix it. Sometimes I can't. The video RSS feeds were a direct result of feedback that I got, and I finally the situation popped up and I could get it done, and so I did. And of course, I always appreciate your feedback when we're doing it. So let's talk about and the guy said, hey, they're not complaining about my Twitter feed. No, it's okay. Some have. I've gotten some complaints from folks who are like, hey man, I'm getting a lot. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing some new things with Twitter. So sorry, I have 1,500 followers now, and I had only 300 maybe a year ago, and I'm trying to promote the network. So anyways, it's all good.
You got to make changes every now and then. And some work, some don't.
Yeah, no, all is good. So let's talk, Mike. What's going on? JPEG to RAW. Some of our newer listeners may not. It's been a while since back in the spring we had you and Tim and Sess on talking a little bit about it. But what's going on over at JPEG to RAW?
JPEG to RAW is a photography podcast, and we interview various photographers. And we just finished show number 121 this past Tuesday. And you would think after 121 shows, you're hearing me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can't hardly see my audio.
Oh.
But after 121 shows, you would think that we would, what more can you cover on photography? But we're always coming up with new subjects. And this past week we covered abandonedscapes, which is basically landscape, buildings and that kind of stuff that has been abandoned for whatever reason. And this photographer goes in there and takes photos, and some of these places, maybe this one he went into was abandoned since 1957. It was some mill or something.
It was cool.
Yeah, it was an old mill, and he goes in there. It was like it was frozen in time, because what had happened was the owners at the end, let's say on a Friday, you left, you think everything's good or maybe everything's a little bit shaky, and the owners, as soon as you left, they locked the doors. They're done. You find out you're out of a job when you came back on Monday, and the place was locked up, and it had stayed locked up until the 90s, so it was fairly pristine, and everything was still in there. And he went and photographed stuff, so it was very, very interesting what he would find in there. People's shoes. He even found a Prince Albert can. The calendar that was on the wall. All these interesting things.
Very cool.
And he's very good at the lighting, so we still cover new topics like that all the time.
Yeah, I love that abandonedscape concept. I was, I'm a tech guy, and I don't listen to every show you do. I'm not a photographer. I don't get into it. Your last show, what number is it, and when will it?
121. It'll be out. It's the live versions on YouTube right now. The recorded, the edited version will be out either Friday or this weekend.
Okay, so JPEG to RAW 121. Even if you're not a photographer, watch the video version of this, because it's got some great pictures in it. It's interesting stories about him going out and taking these pictures. That's the best part of it. And then it's funny, towards the end of the show, he's like, shoot, I haven't even told you how I process these things. And at that point, I lost me. I'm like, I'm not interested. I want to hear the cool stories about gunfire and running from gang members and those kinds of things.
Sometimes you go in those abandoned houses, and it's not just little creatures you got to worry about. There's gang members who are using it for their drug lair or whatever you say that, and they're not too fond of you coming in there with a camera to photograph everything.
Yeah.
So that's the thing about that guest was he not only took the photos and was excellent at taking the photos, but he knew the story behind the place, and he shared that with us. So it was a great guest.
He's a great storyteller. So JPEG to RAW 121. If you haven't, if you're not a photographer, that is one of the best shows I've listened to that you've done as of late.
Thank you.
I don't listen to them all, but it was super interesting, because I'm an abandonedscape kind of guy. There's great websites like abandoned sites all over the world that people have taken pictures of old amusement parks and old buildings and haunted mansions and those kinds of things that I'm just drawn to, like the pictures that come out of Chernobyl right now, right? That they've had photographers go in and take pictures of Chernobyl, and 25 years later, and I'm fast. I will spend hours looking at those pictures. So, good stuff, good tech stuff, good cool guy stuff or gal stuff. You might want to head over to jpeg2raw.com and look for 121 and some good stuff. So,
thank you.
You're doing great work over there, Mike. I appreciate it.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It's fun to watch too. I enjoy it. And if you're into photography, it's a bonus. So, all right. You recently had a child make his way to college. It's that time of the year. Last year we interviewed Christian on his way into, actually as he graduated from high school, and then on his way into University of Maryland, and we kind of asked him some tech questions on what he's doing and some great insight. That's from a student perspective. You put your first freshman, right? This is the first freshman into school. And there's a lot. I mean, I kind of followed you along with this process. We talked about it quite a bit, as you kind of shared with me. There was some tech decisions though that had to be made and I'm always interested because, I've got kids in college too, but I just kind of abandoned them. I was like, just go. You get nothing. Good luck. But you had to make some tech decisions around a laptop for a while, and so let's talk about that, because for all of us, you weren't buying this for you. That's an easy decision. You were buying this for Christopher. So
right.
Talk a little bit. Let's back up a little bit. Talk a little bit about that process.
And first, so I have in my life never purchased a PC. A computer. Let's not say PC, because
like a desktop, right?
Maybe think of Mac of any kind. I've never bought a computer. I've always built mine. So this was actually going to be the first one I had to buy. And in my role at my work, I had a unique opportunity where I could actually bring some home that we had at work and say, Christopher, use this for the weekend. Use this one for the weekend. Which one do you like better? And really, I narrowed it down to the Surface Pro 3. Which I like. That is my laptop. And the Yoga ThinkPad, I think it's the Yoga ThinkPad S1.
Oh, S1. Okay.
I think it's the S1. I don't think so. Whatever the latest one is, that's out there.
Yeah, it's a good little laptop.
It is. The problem with it is expensive. So we did look at the Yoga Pro 2, I think is what it is, with the crazy high resolution, the 3200 by 1980 or whatever. It's the Super HD real high resolution one, and it's a 13-inch, where the Yoga ThinkPad S1 is a 12.5-inch. So it's a little bit smaller screen. The difference between those two, and we went and tested those. The difference was the Yoga ThinkPad had the little pen. And he liked writing the notes. Now we all know the Surface
has the pen too.
Right. We all know the Surface, and the Surface even has the little purple button at the top that has the.
It's a great pen.
OneNote. It is a great pen. It's a great laptop. It's a great OneNote device. So for him, I let him use them over the weekend, and he tried to game on both of them, because he's going to do a little bit of gaming when he's there. He's going to play his online games. And when he tried it with the Surface, it got hot, and then I think it starts powering down the CPU, whatever it does there. So it actually didn't perform very well in his game after a little bit. Then he tried it with the Yoga, and it didn't have that issue. It just ran fine. Plus, then he puts it on his lap, and while the Surface is much better at being put on your lap because of the multiple positions, it doesn't feel the same as a true laptop. Mm-hmm. And when he did that, then when he tried the pen, which the pen and the ThinkPad is a flimsy little plastic thing, but when you go to write with it, it writes really well, almost as good as the Surface. So when he wrote with that, he said, "This is easy. It's the Yoga." The problem with the Yoga, of course, is it's $1,700. It's even more expensive.
Yeah, yowza. Yeah, and all those things are true. I think when you go through those, when you went through that checklist nicely as far as kind of the things that really matter for that. And I'm looking at the Surface Pro. It's got it's just got a few things that just don't necessarily make it a no-brainer. You're like, this should be really good. Oh, it just doesn't have this whatever, piece to it. It's such a nice piece of equipment in a lot of ways. And the Core i3, it's down to $799. Is that right? $799? Yeah. And so, it's that Dave's got that version now, Dave McCabe. But so you ended up going with the more expensive. And to be clear, when you talk about building, you're talking about building. You've built desktops. You certainly bought all your laptops, right?
I've never had a laptop before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you had them from work. Oh, hey, speaking of that, your video on your feed is still really bad. The picture one is pretty good.
Yeah, I'm looking at my video. I'm seeing that. My video is
really on your PC is not great.
Don't know. I'm using less than 1 meg of upload.
Interesting.
Not sure what's going on there.
You don't have the video downgraded up in the Google Hangout, do you?
Nope, I got it on HD.
Auto HD.
Auto HD.
Okay. Yeah, Tim Black is mentioning, the Surface 2 has dropped its price to about $100, and you can get those for. I saw that for $349, I think, at Best Buy.
Yeah.
The other day when I was in there, I mean, I messed with the Surface 3 at Best Buy the other day. The other laptops like the Yoga and stuff. Those all have the same kind of high quality laptop feel. to them. Let me switch this back off. So there we go. And so I don't really mess around with the higher end. I kind of know it. I've got one of those at work, and I kind of know what those feel like. But that Surface really does have a different feel to it in a lot of ways, and I love that pen.
Yeah, and so the pen is flimsily attached there, but it's held on really. I've had this thing for a couple months now.
Yeah.
I think it's been a couple months, and I'll tell you that for me, we're getting a little bit off my son here, but for me, I use this. I take it everywhere with me. When I go into a meeting, I don't bring pen and paper anymore. I bring this, and everything I do is with that. So bringing this into a meeting, I walk around with this just like I would a pad of paper. It's that convenient. It's just slightly heavier. I don't know how so many times I have the pen in my shirt pocket, and somebody said, "Can I borrow your pen?" And it says, "Not a pen. Can I borrow your pen?" And sometimes I let them, and they, "What's wrong with this thing?"
Yeah. They're like licking it.
Hopefully
trying to get the pen. I've seen guys do that. Yeah, it's just one of those things. I'll have to see with the Surface if they give us a good deal on those at the summit. Dave and I just actually both got registered for MVP Summit coming up here in November. So good opportunity. I'll bring some stuff back from Redmond for you guys as we talk about what's going on at Microsoft. But so you ended up purchasing, so for him, right, lappability was important, gaming was important, the resolution, screen size. So that Yoga was, what's the screen size on it?
50? I think it's 12.5.
12
and
okay, same size.
Yeah, and there's on the Yoga, there's multiple resolutions you can get. So there's two different resolutions. We got the higher of the resolution, the FHD or whatever it's called. So we did get the better resolution.
Yeah, and Lopta was asking on this, is the Surface fast enough to keep up when you're writing? Yeah, absolutely. Everything I've tried, and it's smooth. Oh man, I cannot believe how good writing. I mean, I remember the early Surface stuff from Microsoft. They were really the only ones doing it with these touchscreens. It was awful. It was just terrible. The digitizers were slow, and it just never really kept up, and it just didn't feel like you're writing. Now on the Surface, and not just the Surface, but there are some other writing devices where you can do this. It is just smooth as butter, and it just really does feel like you're writing. And in OneNote, you can change the width and the pen width, and it's got the wheel options, and so you just got a lot of different ways. By the way, not exclusive. That's not exclusive to the Surface. That's a OneNote function, and so you'd get that on anything that you'd use OneNote for.
I got this as soon as it came out. So this is the Core i5, and now they have the Core i7. I personally, it's fine for what I do and all that. I don't do spreadsheets on it. The screen's just not big enough. And the kind of spreadsheets I do, I'm going to need some real horsepower. So even a Core i7, you got to remember these are the mobile versions of those things. So they're still just dual core, and they're the gigahertz, megahertz, whatever it is not as high as you would have in a desktop version. So they're talking about my video and how my ISP started me. Yeah. So a little side note, I don't know what happens when I have a second machine join. Even if I'm only using 1/5 of my upload, one of the machines is going to have bad video on it. I don't know what happened. So I've cut the video on the second one, and that's why this one's now good.
Must be bringing it up.
I don't know what's going on.
Shoot. Sorry about that.
But when we go to show some of the photos, I will then do that.
That'll be fine.
So for him though, that he wanted the true laptop. I think the feel for the keyboard on this thing is fine, the Surface, but the keyboard on that Yoga is just one of the best keyboards I've ever used. It's really, really good.
The chat room is dominated by mics, so it's awesome. You guys in the chat room. This is the most active I've seen the chat room in a while. So I must have got them fired up on Home Server Show last night or something.
That's cool.
I'm not sure how that worked out. Mike, $1,700. As a parent, how long do you see that investment? I mean, is that a 4-year investment for you?
I've told him, dude, if you break this, I can't go buy you another one. You got to make this thing last. I even gave him instructions because I bought him a book bag that's just like the one I have, my backpack thing, and said if it's raining, you move the zippers down to the side rather than have them combined at the top so it's more waterproof. I gave him even that kind of instruction. I'm hoping it makes it the whole way through. We did get him the Core i7, the fast Core i7 with the 256 gig SSD, so it should last for that amount of time. This is both his. I'm reading the chat. Yeah. This is both his high school graduation and his for college. We did do if you go to the Lenovo site, you can use the educational discount. Not quite as good as what you get from the Microsoft Store. I think Microsoft Store gives you like 20%. Lenovo only gives you 10.
And it took a while to come in, right? I mean, you ordered it, and then it took 2 weeks, 3 weeks to come in.
Well, yeah. So there's a little bit of a story with that too. So when I ordered it, I ordered it about a month in advance, thinking no problem, we'll have this before he goes off to college, and it took a little bit, maybe a week, and then finally it came up to say when it was going to be shipped, and it was actually going to be shipped and arrive at my place 2 weeks after he started college, or the middle of a second week. So he starts on a Monday. That following Wednesday is when it was going to arrive. And then as we got closer to the time, they said, well, it's going to be the following Monday. They kept updating it. I mean, following Monday. Then it was going to be, it just kept moving up. It was going to be the first week of school.
Moving it up rather than moving it back. They were moving
it's going to be following Monday. Then it was going to be the Thursday of his first week. Then the Wednesday of his first week. And then finally, the night before we took him off to college on a Friday, they said it was going to be the Monday of his first week, which meant really I was going to have to wait and bring it over the next weekend. So it's still that first week. When I was there moving him in to his dorm, I get a text that said that they just tried to deliver it.
Shoot, at your house?
Yeah, and a signature required.
Yeah.
So what I was able to do is when I got home, we got home in time for me to get on the web and then say I'll come by and pick it up in the morning. Came by and picked it up in the morning, and then I spent the next day doing all the prep stuff I was going to do to it before I shipped it up, brought it over to him on Sunday. And the stuff I did to it was, one, I backed it up to my home server. That was the first thing. Then we have
an image of it, so you kind of have the base image of it on your home server.
Right.
2011?
No, I'm on 2008 R2.
Oh, okay. You have data center.
Actually, I have Windows Storage Server.
Storage server, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So
which is data center in the background. Yeah.
And I keep talking about AMD. My AMD box is fine.
There's some lovers and some haters tonight.
I will give you that Intel does a lot of good things, but you put Wirecast on any one of these machines, and my AMD machine will walk all over the Intel machine. Anyway, back to the story. So I did that, backed it up. Then I installed Office 365, which love that, awesome.
Yeah, 99. So you have the $99 version, 5 copies, right?
5 copies. Mm-hmm. So we all the family have it, and now it's on his laptop. So we actually have one extra. And then I set up everything, Excel and PowerPoint and all those things to save their files to his OneDrive by default, make that the default, to save it there. And then I set up a OneNote thing because I knew he would never do it. Set up a OneNote what is it? Not a folder, notebook, a OneNote notebook that was shared with me. So that way.
How's that going so far?
Well, so it has worked. So here's
good. Okay, you made a funny story the other day. I wasn't checking.
He has not added anything. Yeah. And what you're talking about there is, as a parent, getting a little bit off the tech, as a parent, when your kids are hitting their teenage years, you can't wait for them to get out of the house. You're not leaving soon enough. Once he's actually moved out, it actually has been harder on me than my wife. My wife has been fine with it. With me, I was wanting to, hey, let's Skype every night, let's do that kind of stuff. And my son's wanting to be off on his own a little bit more, which is good. But anyway, I set up a OneNote, shared OneNote of notebook with him, and I have had to use it because he didn't know how do I do the backlighting on the keyboard. So I did a screenshot or whatever it is, screen capture of the keyboard, found it online, and then drew arrows to here's the 2 keys you press, and put it in his OneNote, and then Skyped him a text message and said, here it is, go check it out. And they still talking.
Keep going.
So he can go check that out. I've put links in there for things coming up, and he's used what I've put in there. He's not added anything himself.
Okay. The guy harked back to a reference a while ago. Remember when I could never get HD and you could? Yeah. And you would rub that in all the time, and now tonight it's the opposite. So that's pretty funny.
You never know. I don't know what's
well, if you're a long-time listener to the podcast, that's pretty funny. If you're new tonight, you're like, these guys are idiots.
I missed it. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. It was pretty funny. So, well, but that's kind of cool, Mike. That it's here you are with your son. He's in college. You're sharing this OneNote. What a great way. You could do that with Google Docs. That would work too. But what a great way to kind of keep in touch tech-wise. My just when we talk about family helping with online stuff, just the other night I was having dinner with my daughter and my youngest daughter, my youngest son. And she was talking about she loves to write, but she really loves to edit. And I just have never met anybody that loves to edit, right? I mean, I've got some editors at work, but they've never said, I love to edit. I love doing that. And I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe you could edit my blog, right? I mean, I write pretty crappy out there, and it'd be nice to. She's like, okay. So I created an account for her on WordPress and said, okay, we'll have you log in, and then you can go in there and fix stuff for me. She's like, that'd be great. And so it's kind of fun to kind of see that. My middle son's an artist, and I was trying to have him create some original stuff, only to find out he doesn't really like doing original work, but if I give him concepts, he'll run with it. So I'm gonna give him some of my concept art and say, hey, here's some things, can you make it kind of do this? So that's kind of cool as you find those connections with your kids.
Yeah, it is. And I forgot what we were just talking about there, but
the OneNote, the shared OneNote.
Yeah, and that's worked out well for us. The other funny thing I found is the only way we contact each other now, the only way he contacts me is not through calling me or doing anything like that. He sends me a message through Skype and says, hey, Dad, it's things like, I need this book for class. And I Skype back, I hear the bookstore sells those. Meaning, go get one yourself.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not. What am I going to do? I'm over here. You need to go to the bookstore and get it. So, and then if we're going to actually talk, we do it through Skype, and message through there.
Yeah. Isn't that funny how it's gotten to? We Facebook message a lot now, even as a family. Sarah will send out a Facebook message to everybody. It includes everybody in the family and sends. In fact, so I'm trying to do the show. We got chat going on, which is super active. Then she pings me in Skype. She's like, hey, when's the show going to be over? I need to talk to you.
Hope that's not bad.
Well, I hope it's not bad either. But she's out at her parents' house out in Kentucky this week, spending some time out there. So it's good to the guy says I should probably think about paying my kids to do that kind of work, so it's legal. But
well, it's been part of the deal with us was moving him off to college was to grow up, and him not wanting to communicate that often is part of that growing up. He's living more on his own, but he has that technology there. If I wouldn't call myself an expert with Excel, but I know quite a bit about Excel. So as he gets into classes where he needs to do that, he can save them to his OneDrive. And his computer here also has that same OneDrive account. So I set that up that way. So when he does something to OneDrive, of course it's saved up at OneDrive, but it's also saved in his computer here, which then is imaged downstairs on my Windows Home server every night. So there's plenty of backup there.
And I found though with this generation, they don't care about backup. I know they just don't even think about it.
They don't, but that's why I want him to write everything to OneDrive because. Right. One of the things I wanted him to say is, as you start doing some of these work, as you start, as a freshman class, not so much, but as you get more up in class, you have to write, do a lot of writing or create some spreadsheets or do whatever you get, PowerPoints, whatever you're going to do. There's a number of ways you can screw up. You could delete the file. You could have made a change. And this is my worst fear. You make a change and you save it. And it's the wrong thing, or you save over a file. Well, there's versioning, and if you don't have the versioning, there's also the backup that I have, so we can do it that way. And I've told them, if something really bad happens, somebody steals your computer, at least your work's not gone. We still have the work.
Right.
So that was a main thing I wanted to get set up for him.
No, it's good, and that's, it's a good. I think you set up a really nice example when we talk about when we send our kids to school. The various forms, you've got him saving it to the cloud. It's down saving here to a PC in his room here, so he doesn't, if he say he comes home for the weekend and I left my laptop, that's okay. All your stuff's here. You can still work on your homework.
Exactly.
And then that versioning piece that you've got going on the home server is a good alternative backup.
Okay, so a little side note. Some other Jim says Mike is trying not to be a helicopter parent. Yeah, I'm really struggling with that. I've been accused of that because my son didn't contact me for 2 days, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? So I spent an hour searching online to see if there's any webcams on campus that I can tap into. Apparently there's not.
Creepy.
And then this next part I'm exaggerating. I wouldn't really do this, but I did say it to my wife. I asked him how the weekend went. He said, "Oh, weekend went great. I hung out with this one friend and a girl I met in math." And that was it. He didn't say anything more. I, of course, want to know more, and he's not going to tell me. So I asked my wife, I said, "You think it'd be okay if I emailed his math professor and say, can I have photos and names of all the girls in the class?"
And where they sit in proximity to my son.
Yeah, I want to know which one that might have
been. That is funny. You know, it's the guy was saying his son went away to the University of Canada, and it's funny. The farther away they are, I think sometimes the more you talk to them, because my kids. I've got a kid at home, and I maybe have a conversation with him twice a week, just like 5 minutes, not very much, and he lives here in the house, and it's just funny. I was actually pinging my daughter tonight. It's one of those things. I podcast a lot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm down here working. I'm working all day. I come home. I come down to the desk. I'm working a lot here, and I just kind of straight up asked her tonight. I'm like, "Hey, am I working too much? I mean, is this bothering you that I'm?" She's like, "No, you're down there. You're always available.
As long as you want, Dad.
No, she's 60.
Don't need to come back.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Don't even worry about it." So I'm like, sweet.
Well, you know what else he did? Because I pay for all of our phones, of course, and I say when he lived here, and I said everybody's gonna have their GPS on. I want to be able to find out where you're at. Well, when he went off to college, he of course now has turned off the GPS on his phone. So with that, all I was going to be able to know is where he was at on campus and already have his class schedule. So it's been a learning experience for me to get a little bit of separation there. The other thing we dealt with was he needed a printer, so I needed to get him a printer, and it seems like I went to Micro Center and then went to Fry's, and I ended up getting it from Fry's. And what I found when I go to Fry's is everything is Wi-Fi. We're getting a DeskJet. All the DeskJets Wi-Fi. And I don't want to bring a printer over there that everybody in the building has access to through the Wi-Fi network. That wouldn't work. And even if it's Ethernet, you can't do that either. So I'm asking the guy, well, okay, which one comes with a USB cable? And he said none of them come with a USB cable. You have to buy that extra. So the USB cable wasn't that expensive. But so I had to do that. But it took a little bit of searching. And somebody had recommended, well, maybe what you can do is bring your own router, hook that in there, and use that. They strictly prohibit that.
Oh, do they? That's what we did when Josh went away to school.
If they find you did it, they say they have the right to remove you from the housing. So they don't want to do it, and I don't want to put my son in that situation. So I just got a USB one. It does mean it needs to be closer to his laptop. I really wanted it on the whole other side of the room. Because where it's at is really not in the best place, and now you got the problem of the power and the USB cable's only so long.
Yeah. Other Jim said, "Good thing the laptop costs so much. Mike can't buy a drone for a year." We are. It's funny because we're going to talk about here in a couple of weeks. Keith Lunsford's coming on. John Nye's coming back. We're going to talk about quadcopters.
I was watching right before the show. I was watching with my wife the behind the lens for Deadliest Catch, and they had a quadricopter that they were using for some of the video shots. And I asked my wife, "Can I get one of those?"
Apparently, when they crash, they break.
His Quadro, whatever it was, is 8 blades.
Yeah.
He crashed it the first time it took off into a crab pot, and it now was only 4 blades. Or 4, whatever.
Yeah. Four propellers.
So my son is going to Kennesaw State here in Georgia, so it's about an hour away from where we're at. Not that
too
far.
bad. That's a nice distance, far enough away, but it'd be here in Omaha or in Bellevue. An hour would be like Lincoln, so that'd be a nice distance where they can't just come running back.
An hour away if you go at the right time. If you go during traffic, the one thing about Atlanta is traffic can be horrible, and in the section where he's at, it's particularly bad. So, he's coming home actually for this weekend for Labor Day, and I told him if you're not out of there by X time, then you need to wait till like 10 o'clock tomorrow night to come home because it's just going to be horrible.
Yeah, come home late.
Yeah, you got to plan around that for that trip. So we get him moved in, and I'll have some photos here to show you in a little bit of the whole thing there. The dorm is a little shocking. We get him moved in, and I get him all set up, and I also got the docking station that you can get from Lenovo. So the docking station connects to where the power is on the Lenovo Yoga ThinkPad. There's a little clip you pop out, and now is the power part and another little part. Connects to that. The docking station has 2 USB 3s, 2 USB 2s, the one sound jack, Cat 5 connection, and HDMI out. All that stuff. So the HDMI, of course, he has another monitor. The USBs then go to his keyboard and laptop because he wanted wired for whatever reason. It goes to his keyboard and his mouse, sorry. And then one of them goes to the printer, and then he has his thing plugged in there. So when he comes back from class, he only has one cable to connect into his laptop, and that does all the data transfer for USBs, for Cat 5, for video and everything, and it powers up the laptop. So
yeah, I saw you had that also flipped up, kind of flat so that the monitor would be up a little higher. Is that with the docking station, or
where'd you see that in the photo?
Oh, it's a picture. Yeah, in the well, maybe when we get to the dorm room, we'll see.
Right. When you see that is the day we moved him in. When you see the photo, that is the day we moved him in. That was the loaner laptop.
Oh, I gotcha.
So I had it like that.
Okay.
Well, he doesn't have it like that now, and for that I was using a makeshift docking station to do that. Now the docking station he has is the real Lenovo one. So I get home and we're Skyping and everything, and he says, "Dad, you won't believe the speed we have here." And I said, "What is it?" He goes, "Well, we have only, I think he said 5 up, 5 down. We have 5 down." Okay, you can
probably throttle that by the room.
Yeah, so you can live with that. What's your up? He goes 75. I go, "No, you got those backwards. It's 75 down, 5 up." He goes, "No, it's the other way. It's 5 down, 75 up." Run it again while we're talking. He runs it again and says, "Yep," says the same thing. And now it's maybe 4 up, 4 down. So I still don't believe him. When I come over Sunday to deliver his laptop, first thing I do after I plug it all in, get everything set up, is I go to speed test because there's no way this is true. And sure enough, speedtest.net, 5 down, 75 up.
Yeah, you almost want to put a podcast server in over there. Send your stuff up there.
Yeah, I would still only have the up that I have here.
I know. Well, hey, Christian's gig, a gigabit down and up at Maryland next year. So.
Yeah, but who's ever heard of your up and down being so lopsided?
Well, I bet they throttle one and don't throttle the other.
That must be what it is.
You said Cat 5, but they're on Cat 5e, right? They're.
Yeah. When I say Cat 5,
you're using that generically.
I'm using it generically because I can't imagine you would use anything. Yeah.
Let's jump into some pictures.
Okay.
Because I think this is kind of fun. So
turn my camera back on.
Yeah, a little vacation. This is kind of like the part of the show where Mike shows his slides from vacation. But the reason I asked Mike to do this, don't leave just yet. It's pretty cool. I wanted, as I was looking at these pictures, it was like, holy moly. So roll through them a little bit.
All right. Can you see them yet?
I've got them up full screen. Yeah.
That's just us taking father and son washing the truck. The day before we go.
And that's the car he took with him.
Yeah, that's his Civic.
By the way, this was all documented in a spreadsheet, right? The whole move, all his stuff, the boxes that went in. All
right, here's a tip for you parents who ever have to move a kid in. Is these totes? I had 4 totes. I had them secure so that nothing would fly out of them. Everything he needed was in those totes. And I watched other students and parents come, and they made multiple trips back to the car, and everything seemed to be loose, or they had to borrow stuff from the college and had to wait in lines to get stuff from the college. We had everything on this. We had a dolly that you can lay down, and has a wheel so you can row it, and had a handlebar that went straight up. So we plopped everything on there. 1 trip to his dorm room, unloaded everything. 1 trip back. Very, very smooth there. Just some more campus shots. I'll go through these fairly quick.
The hoot.
Okay, so this is as you walk into his dorm room. Straight ahead, you see one of the containers in his room. This is a dorm room that has 4 kids that are going to be in it. Okay.
So 4 separate rooms.
4 separate. Every kid
So
has their
quad.
own room.
And then they share a common area with a kitchen and.
They share a common area, and they share that. What you're going to see back in the back is a the what do you call it, the living room or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So they share that, but they have a full kitchen. They have a dishwasher, double sinks, refrigerator, pantry, everything like that. Stove, microwave. Yeah. This is the freshman dorms. This is not special dorms. This is not we bought them an extra apartment or something like that. This is the standard freshman dorms. So that's the kitchen. This is the living room, and ceiling fans in every room.
And all furnished.
Yep, already furnished. We didn't bring any of that stuff. So this is the room. This is what you were talking about when I had the 2 screens up.
Yeah, that's the picture I saw right there. Where.
So with this, when we first set them up, we didn't have the logo Lenovo Yoga ThinkPad. We had, I think that's just a Yoga 13. I thought Yoga 13. I had that set up, and I had a little bitty docking station and an HDMI cable going over to do that. So it actually had to plug 2 cables and the power into his laptop to get it to work. Not that big of a deal, but it wasn't a permanent setup. And that's where he's going to be. Now the laptop, that first shelf to the far left, that's where he puts his laptop, right up there, and plugs 1 cable into it. And the far right is where his printer goes.
It might have been interesting to see if if you would have known the roommates to have them think about a community printer, right? Of maybe a black and white.
How do you do that?
What do you mean?
How would they print to the different printers?
All those printers are Wi-Fi now.
Yeah, but how would you get Wi-Fi that's secure that no one else in the building can get to it?
Oh, it's a printer. What do you need secured? What do you need it secured for?
Because of the ink in the paper. You don't think you
So they don't have Wi-Fi on the campus at all, huh?
They do. They do have Wi-Fi on the campus.
Yeah.
But as soon as you attach it to the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you can lock those down though. You can lock them down by IP address, I think. It doesn't matter.
Where would you?
You're probably right. You're probably right.
Yeah, I don't see how.
Well, actually, so here's the deal.
Yeah.
A lot of the new HP and some of the other printers have this called a web print, right? And you would go through some software to print to them, and so you wouldn't be able to print to them. It would need to be connected to the network, but then you would use web print to print to them and not have to. That's how you would do it.
Okay, well, I may have to look into that.
Maybe next year.
He didn't know any of his roommates, so they were all new. So they all have their own room. They all have, that little chair, that whole setup that all is standard that comes with it.
That's his room. That's his bedroom.
That's his room, and that door there is his closet. Yep. Then this is the bed. Underneath the bed there is storage. And
is this a fairly new dorm?
Kennesaw is a fairly new thing. I don't know how old this dorm is, but
Kennesaw. Somebody was asking.
Kennesaw State.
Kennesaw State, right?
Yeah. And I have a video. I have a GoPro video of the whole place, even looking out the window, so you can see what's outside that window, on YouTube if you wanted to go there and look at it.
Okay.
It's
I'm not
AC/DC Back in Black.
I'm not sure I want my head facing those windows, but.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way the bed is.
Yeah, and it's not, the room setup's not great. You'd really want that window down by the door.
Yeah.
But
there's 2 pictures I don't have that is great as what I've shown you, that they have their living room, a kitchen, their own private bedroom. There's something we have, and this is the Lenovo ThinkPad. There's a couple of things we haven't talked about, is bathroom and laundry. Every dorm room has its own bathroom. So in that 4-boy dorm suite, every room has its own bathroom. So there's 4 bathrooms. 4 baths. He has his own private bath.
Now I think that's kind of a shame. I'll be honest with you.
You like to shower with men?
What? Why'd you have to go there?
I'm just wondering. Where are you going with? I really like showering.
I was in the military. And
you want to take me off of that?
Yeah. Hold on. There we go. So I was in the military, and you learn when you have to share those facilities, right? You learn some life lessons in there about, you just grow up a little bit, one of those kinds of things. And I just, I think sometimes we get it just allows for almost too much privacy. It's like you kind of need I think we're missing a little bit of that of learning those. And I'm not this great. I'm just saying it's one of those as commentary, as my commentary. I think I had to learn to deal. I mean, there's nothing like when we go to the field and you're just out there with a bunch of guys and you got to figure some things out and you grow up a little bit in the process. And so
I am all for having a shower that I don't have other men in it.
now I don't disagree with you. I think we all like that, but you appreciate things differently at the end.
I don't need to shower with men to appreciate showers without men. But I know every other college that we looked at, and really one of his top choices, the one we really looked at hard, was your normal dorm setting where it was a really small room with bunk beds in it. I think the bunk beds were kind of at one was this way, one was this way, so you weren't like right on top of each other. So I mean, every place we looked at was where your roommate was within arm's reach if you're both laying in your bed. That close, and you had a big bathroom for the floor. This is the one place, and it wasn't the deciding factor, but this is the one place where every room had its own bathroom, and I haven't said this yet, but the laundry room is also in the room too. So they have that there too.
Yeah, that's nice.
And Mike out there says that's the cleanest his room will be until he moves out. So when you see all those totes, everything that was trash, I took with me when we left. That Sunday I came to bring him that laptop we talked about because I had now had it all set up and everything. But on that laptop, and I come in there to set it up, there's trash all over his floor. Where did you go find trash? Did you go out of the room to go search for trash? I thought I took everything that could create trash with me. So I don't know what it is. He's right. It's
yeah. Well, and that's the nice. I mean, not to go back, but the military trains that out of you. Because you leave that stuff around and man, everybody gets busted and then you're the bad guy and you just kind of learn some of those disciplines of and talk about bathrooms, some of the cleanest bathrooms I've ever been in has been in the military because you just
you're forced to.
Well, yeah, but you also know if you want it clean and you're the one cleaning it, you better get it clean. And so
it's going to be interesting. So there's only guys listening, so I'll say this.
Yeah.
Sunday when I'm coming over with the laptop, my youngest son, who's a sophomore in high school, is with me, and my two sons are the exact opposites. The older one is he's outgoing in some ways, like he's on the high school swim team and he'll interact really good with his friends and everything. But in new situations, he's more reserved. So he hasn't had a girlfriend through high school. He's a really good-looking guy, but he's shy around girls. My younger son's the exact opposite. I walk into the room and he's Skyping with 3 girls, so I got to watch him. So we drive on campus, and my younger son is just looking all over the place. I said, "What is wrong with you? What are you doing?" He says, "Dad, there are girls everywhere here." And he goes, "So, in the dorms, is it like a boys' dorm, girls' dorm?" I said, "No, in Kennesaw, it's they're all mixed. You can't have them in the same suite, but right next door to you could be a girl, in the dorm right next to you, at the dorm room right next to you. And the only rule is, if you have somebody sleep over, they can't do it more than 3 nights in any 1 week." No curfew, no anything like that. Just not more than 3 nights in 1 week.
Animal House. That's all I have to say.
He says, "I am definitely going to Kennesaw."
Oh man, you're gonna have to watch that kid. You are gonna have to watch that kid. I bet he's eyeing his brother and making sure he doesn't make the same mistakes he makes.
But you talked about Wi-Fi on campus. They definitely have Wi-Fi all over campus. He takes his laptop with him to classes. He takes his laptop with him to the cafeteria, to the student center, and all that. And you just use your student ID and your student password, and you get on Wi-Fi throughout the whole campus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I imagine from a printing standpoint, they can also probably a bank of printers somewhere you can send your jobs to if you want to.
They do. And what I've noticed, and since nobody here knows my son, you won't be able to rat me out. While he was here, of course, I'm having to set everything up. So I set up and I have his KSU student ID and password and everything. I can get on to. They use Gmail. Kennesaw State uses Gmail for their thing. It's a branded thing, so it's not at gmail.com. It's at ksu.edu. but you can tell obviously it's Gmail. I can still get into his Gmail account, and so I can see what all is going on with his Gmail and
Stop it.
but
Stop it, Mike Howard.
The test here he's going from being mommy and daddy did everything for him to now having to survive on his own, and I want to make sure if a teacher, professors send him emails that he's looking at them, so are they read, stuff like that, and he is, and I'm seeing a lot of kids are going back and forth to each other, and they have study groups that are online study groups. They're sharing Google Docs and doing their work in a Google Doc. There's a lot of that going on where they're doing a project in one of their classes, and they share it with the group that they're doing the project with, and everybody's adding their stuff to that Google Doc.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny. We've been doing that for the last couple of years. I mean, we do that, right? Tonight we're sharing a Google Doc for the program, and lately I've been using OneNote for some other things, and I've been sharing that back and forth. Actually, I use that on shared computers for the podcast because I'll edit it downstairs, and then I'll come upstairs, and it's immediately available for me in my OneNote upstairs, and so that's been a great instant kind of saving tool to be able to do that. So
another Jim says too far. I'm not actually reading the emails and just reading the headers.
No, it's good. Hey, I remember, I haven't sent a kid off to college in a couple years, but it's one of those things. I remember, we sent Josh 3 hours down to Kansas City, and that was tough on me. That was hard. It was like, even though I was glad to have him away. I wonder if he's over there. Glad to have him away, but it's also good he's home now, and he's a good kid. So we
they're saying the guy says the EDU will get you great software with Microsoft. You're right. I mean, we can get that, and he does have Office 365, and I'm sure at some point he will be using the Excel and the stuff like that. And this freshman class, it looks like they're not doing that much. They're using more Google Docs to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I've actually talked to the business side of Kennesaw before my son went there, because in my day job, one of the things that I was seeing is from some of the colleges that we were recruiting from, the kids would come in and they didn't know Excel that much. They spent a lot. I do accounting as one of my jobs. They were doing a lot of work on the accounting software, and I had talked to somebody at Kennesaw in their business group and said, look, the thing with accounting software, I understand you gotta do that, but the thing with accounting software is whatever company you go to, it's a 90+% chance that that's not the accounting software you're going to use. However, whatever company you go to, there's a 90% chance that what you are going to use is Excel. Mm-hmm. And you got to do that. And the thing, schools, not because I said something, but schools in general seem to be doing a better job of teaching Excel to the students, because the people we hire now know that. So he will eventually get to using that. I think some of the student-to-student sharing, that Google Doc stuff is just so easy.
It is, and it's universal, and you don't have to have an Office 365 and all those other things. Although Mike is saying in chat, Creighton. And actually I just met Mike tonight. He's joined us. He's a Creighton, which is here in Omaha. So I've met a fellow podcaster in Omaha. He said Creighton just switched to Office 365. I'm seeing that. Who else? Who was I talking to the other day, and they logged into their Office 365, and it was a university. And I was like, oh, wow, because just a couple years ago, it seemed like they were all going to Google, right? It was just like Google was going to take over, Office is dead. Now, maybe not so much,
Rennie, forget about the NSA. This kid has Mike aged.
Yeah, no, Mike will. Mike
he doesn't even know what's going on.
He doesn't even have a clue. Neither did we, but that's okay.
For $99 a year.
Yeah.
Think about that. For $99 a year, you get 5 accounts, 5 Office 365s, 5 1 terabyte storage.
Yeah. Or
like with Dropbox, you can get 1 terabyte account.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, this is a no-brainer. If you're in the, we talked about this home server show last night, homeservershow.com. We talked and argued a little bit about this last night, and if you're going to buy one or the other, and although it kind of depends, I like Dropbox for sharing things with people that aren't tech savvy, because they understand Dropbox, and that many of them, I say Dropbox and they know how to log into it. I say, go to your, can you go to office.com? We just lose it, right? They're like, I can't do this.
The problem I've had is I have some files that are over 2 gigabyte, and these are files that were on Dropbox, and I had the 100 gig plan on Dropbox. I moved all those files over to OneDrive, and so never had a problem on Dropbox. Moved them over there, and I started having file after file that are above 2 gigabyte. I'm getting error warnings on OneDrive. They exceed the limit. And so I don't know what the limit is on on Dropbox, but apparently it's too much for OneDrive. Even though you have the 1 terabyte total storage, the individual file size has to be under that.
But if you go to theaverageguy.tv and you find the cloud storage guide that's there, let's see if I've got when we talk about that, because I've got all those cloud services listed. And in some of them, I've listed OneDrive file. Let's see.
He's glad to see Mike attacked by his mic.
That thing does come up and bite you, doesn't it?
I have a little light right here as my weight because this mic is not heavy enough to hold down the arm, and every once in a while it pops up. So yeah, it is.
As of the last writing that I did, Mike, 2 gig is the limit on OneDrive. I almost called it SkyDrive on OneDrive. 2 gig and 300 megs from SkyDrive.com. So if you have the client installed on your PC, it's 2 gig. This is as of the last writing.
Yeah.
I've got a link there if you want to go back and get more information.
What is it on OneDrive?
Dropbox. Max file size uploaded through the website have a 300 meg cap. All files uploaded to your Dropbox must be smaller. Hold on, storage quota.
What about on your computer?
I'm looking right now. Here, let's see if I've got that information. I don't know if I have that listed, so I'll have to update that. Maybe somebody in chat knows.
So what's ended up happening is I've kept Dropbox for some of those larger files.
Okay, so files uploaded through the website by clicking the upload button have a 10 gig limit. In other words, each file you uploaded through the website must be 10 gigs or less.
Okay, for Dropbox.
Yeah, all files uploaded to your Dropbox must be smaller than the size of your Dropbox account, storage quota. So that's a no-brainer, right? You can't upload a file bigger than you have space for. But yeah, 10 gig. So that I bet that's just recently updated. When they went to 1 terabyte, I bet that changed.
Well, it had to be bigger than 2 gig before that because these are files I've had on Dropbox for
I was going to say,
a year.
And it might have carried over, so it might have always been 10 gig. So,
but for him, I didn't even set up Dropbox on his computer. He can do that later if he wanted to. I just set up what do you call it? OneDrive. I also, of course, put antivirus on there and those kind of standard things.
Yeah.
I use Bitdefender for my antivirus. Yeah, he's set up and he's good.
All set. Yeah. No, it's a good story.
The only thing he's texted me about the computer is that he really likes it. It's been really good.
That's always nice when we sent Josh with he bought himself a Lenovo, or maybe we bought him, I can't remember, a Lenovo something like one of the Think series. There's a Core i7. It's pretty good. He still has it and works out pretty well. So that's what we had the same. This was 3 years ago. We had the same deal go on where we ordered it and he was like, I probably need a laptop at school. We ordered it. It took 3 weeks.
Yeah.
To get there.
I wonder if they actually build it after you order it.
I think they do, or it's configured. I'm sure they've got some configurations and then some last parts go in and it's shipped from China. So
yeah,
good stuff, Mike. I appreciate you. Thanks for walking through. That's a fun story. I mean, the fun thing about that is in the context of life, there's a lot of tech in there we talked about, from home servers to cloud storage to Wi-Fi to all those things, and that's tech in the context of life. Ooh, that should maybe be our new motto: tech in the context of life.
There you go. That's awesome.
Yeah, wow, just made that up.
Yeah.
Wow, that's magic right there. It's magic. That's what you get here at theaverageguy.tv. So it's fun to go through that. And thanks. I will say Gordon was scheduled to come on tonight. Megan is due any day, and he was like, "Well, I could come on. Probably not a great idea if I'm on the show and something happens." And so we'll wish Gordon Schmidt the best. And Megan as well. We met Megan at the meetup last year. If you were at the meetup, Gordon's wife Megan came. She's just delightful, and kind of a girl geek at the same time. So at one point I asked her, "Are you comfortable with this?" And she's like, "Heck yeah, I love this stuff." So I think she was just being nice to me. But the Home Server Show meetup is coming up. If you haven't heard, you either haven't been listening to my podcasts or you're choosing not to. But Home Server Show meetup coming up September 20th, so just under 23 days from now. We'd like to have you there, Mike. Sorry you can't come this year. I'll miss having you there. But about 20 spots still left. We've opened up 55, and we've filled 35 of those, so about 20 spots left. The link to that, if you want to get registered, it's just $20 to come out. You provide the transportation there out in the show notes. It'll be in the very top of the show notes when you get out there. If you want to join us for that, I mentioned it at the top of the show. We have a cool new sign up for our newsletter, a monthly newsletter that I'll be putting out at the beginning of every month. And so if you'd like to kind of get a catch up, it'll just be a recap of the shows we've done, any new information, some of the helpful links. I got a note back from somebody that said they're not on social media at all, and they appreciated a chance to do the email. I resisted that for a long time, but I've given in. And so head out to theaverageguy.tv, sign up for the cool stuff email list, and it's, cool stuff will be determined by you. So we'll see if it's cool or not. We want to say thanks for supporting the Average Guy Tech Scholarship Fund, and you guys still continue to do that very, very well, theaverageguy.tv/Amazon. And so if you want to set your bookmarks, or set your wife's, that's the best way, set your wife's bookmarks on her computer, laptop, or computer to the Amazon link, just do theaverageguy.tv/Amazon, then save as a bookmark and drag that on the desktop, whatever. You know what? We're not suffering from any lack of money, so I appreciate whatever you guys do for that. Likewise, if you want to take advantage, I've got some funds in the Tech Scholarship Fund. If you've got something you want to test out, at the meetup with John, we sent a Wi-Fi extender device to John Briggs, and it didn't really work very well. And that's good. We're gonna talk about that. He's gonna bring it to the meetup. We're gonna have some of the guys mess with it there to just see what we've got with it there, and so it'll be a chance for folks to mess with it. But that's what the Tech Scholarship Fund is. Something $100 or less in that range. You want to test out, you'll write a little bit about it, you'll share it in the community a little bit, just kind of interface with the community some, and then I'll ship it to you, and when you're done, you get to keep it. Pretty cool deal for us, pretty cool deal for you, and that only happens because you guys support the Tech Scholarship Fund, so appreciate that. We do have a LastPass Enterprise trial still going on, and we'll make a little money. The Average Guy, although affiliate links and that Amazon's about the only thing that ever makes any money, but we've been doing a lot of talk about LastPass. If your organization or your small business is looking at doing enterprise, go to theaverageguy.tv/LastPass trial. Try it through that. We make a little bit. If you guys do purchase the enterprise version of that, we make a little bit. So give that a try if you're interested. Again, that link will be in the show notes if you want to try it. And then let me encourage you to come out Saturday mornings. Mike, you join me every Saturday morning. There. In fact, I try to beat you to the chat room, and I've
never done it.
never do. You're always the first one out there, and so if you want to take the position of first in the chat room, we do a podcast called Ask the Podcast Coach. For most of the tech guys, probably not very interesting because it's all podcast-related stuff. Mike's there out in chat. Dave Jackson and myself, we talk about podcast stuff. But if you know a podcaster or you're into podcasting, you have questions about podcasting, or you like to hear my crazy voice just one more time during the week, askthepodcastcoach.com, 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern, out at askthepodcastcoach.com. So I'll throw that out there as well and say thanks. I want to say that, and the guy says you need to get a Amazon.ca, not just a .com. I'm not sure I can get an affiliate link in Canada. That's interesting, though. Yeah. I'll have to look into that. That's a good idea. Amazon.ca. Yeah, I'll take a peek and see. I may not be able to just because of restrictions that are associated out there. And I know it's crazy the way Amazon doesn't work across countries. It should just work, but it doesn't. You guys have been crazy good in the chat room tonight, so I want to say thanks for coming out. A very, very active and lively chat room. So want to thank you guys for coming out. Mike, I'll say thank you for filling in a pinch, for filling in for Gordon. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, no problem. A lot of fun. One thing I forgot to mention, and I'll mention it real quick. This thing does have Windows 8. My son was not too keen on the whole Metro thing, but Windows 8.1 makes it really easy to set it to where when it boots, it goes right to the desktop, and he never really sees that. It's there, with a touch screen, it actually is very usable. But for him, it feels like it's pretty much Windows 7, and it works just fine. So he's not complaining at all. It works just great for him.
Yeah, anyone who says that Windows 8 doesn't work for them because it's the touchscreen, I say you haven't used Windows 8 in at least 6 months. So I'm like, you're just listening to the tech. You're just listening to the tech guys on various podcasts, because you're right. The new update, if you're on the most current update as of the last month or two probably, that's what I run the broadcast studio here. The server here, what we're using, is all Windows 8, and I don't even notice the difference. I've got a Windows 7 box right here.
The one thing I will say, and it took me a while to figure out how to stop this, when it comes on, it has this humongously big arrow that's on the left-hand side of the screen, telling you swipe here, you do something like that, you cannot get rid of the stupid thing. And then I just Google is your friend. Go on Google and find out. You just move your mouse into the upper left-hand corner, and the thing goes away.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, so once it's gone away, it's good, but it took a little bit. But the whole thing's working out for him, and he seems to be getting all his work done, which is the most important thing.
Yeah. Other Jim just had a great idea to. I need to get Sadler to get the affiliate link in Canada.
There you go.
And then I'll just hook it in somehow here, and anything that the Canadians buy, because Canadians can't use the Average Guy link because that's U.S. only. It's a good idea. We could fund Zadler that way.
WordPress on shared hosting.
That's a great idea.
WordPress, I've done that quite often.
Yeah, let's talk about that in the post show.
Yep,
I'll remind folks 8:30. Why did I say that? 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern, every Thursday night out here. I've got some dates coming up in September. I'll be off. I have a brand new calendar for you guys out at theaverageguy.tv. So if you go out there, scroll down on the right-hand side, there's a brand new Google Calendar that has at least the next couple shows coming up. If you go out tonight, you'll see tonight's Home Gadget Geeks. You'll see Monday's Cyber Frontiers. We're on a regular schedule now. Woot woot. So if you've been a Cyber Frontiers fan and you've been wondering, hey, when are those guys going to get on some kind of regular schedule? I think I've got Christian on it now. We're every other Monday night out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. And same time, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. And but that calendar is out there, so check it. I keep it updated. Mike, as a podcaster, this has encouraged me to start the Google Hangout on air invite early, right? Because I always used to wait 10 minutes before the show. I create the event, email everybody, hey, it's open. And
you can create the events 2 weeks I think at least 2 weeks in advance.
Yeah.
Embed them in your website, and then when people come, it's already there.
Yeah.
There's no need to make people refresh.
A little Hangout podcasting tip there. And so because I've got the calendar on my website and it automatically syncs with it, it's like one of those things, just like I set it up and then it shows up on the site, and then you can know which podcasts are coming out, and I'll just keep a couple out there at any given time. You can check that out at theaverageguy.tv. Come back next Thursday. Again, watch the calendar. Lots of things coming up. We'll talk a little bit about WordPress in the post show. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.